Call the business session of the December 19th, 2023 meeting to order at 6:05 PM. All council members are present. Welcome to our guests and visitors. We provide an opportunity for the public to address the city council on any agenda item or during the hearing of visitors portion of the agenda. On items other than public hearings, speakers will be allotted 1 3-minute presentation regardless of the number of agenda items the speaker wishes to address. If you're here to speak and have not filled out a registration card, please see the city secretary staff at the registration table outside of the auditorium so that staff can contact you if necessary. If you have handouts, please let us know at the beginning of your presentation and staff will distribute those to council. If you're unable to approach the podium due to physical limitations, a microphone is available to be brought to you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Business is to consider the minutes of the December 5th, 2023 meeting. These minutes were in your packet. Are there any corrections? Nope. If none, those minutes will stand approved as submitted. The next item to consider is public hearing 2023-1038.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Honorable City Council. This is a public hearing to receive comments on the 2022-2023 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The city is required to complete and send to HUD an annual report, a CAPER, which describes the actions undertaken during the program year using federal funds granted to the city of Waco by HUD. This year's CAPER covers the period of October 1st of 2022 to September 30th of 2023. A draft copy of the CAPER was put out for public comment on December 7th of 2023 and will remain out for public comment until December 22nd of 2023. Notice was posted in the Waco Tribune Herald on December 7th, 2023. Copies are provided in the Housing and Community Development Department located at 209 South 28th Street, the City Secretary's office, and in all 4 libraries for review by the public. In addition, a copy is available on the city's website on the Housing and Community Development Department webpage. No comments were received as of this public hearing date. No formal action is required by the council other than holding this public hearing.
Thank you, Galen. The next public hearing is public hearing 2023-1039. Oh, there's no action required, right?
No action. Galen, we need to do something, Galen?
Yeah, what?
Open the public hearing for that.
Oh, sorry. We'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Thank you. The next item to consider is public hearing 2023-1039.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Sophia Felix for short-term rental type 1 in R1B zoning district on property described as Lot 9B, Block 1 of the Colonial Annex Edition, known as 1521 Bosque Boulevard. By a vote of 10-0, the Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the following findings. 1, the proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan and purposes and intent of Chapter 8 zoning of said Code of Ordinances, City of Waco. 2, that the proposed use is compatible with the appropriate and orderly development of the area which is located. 3, that the proposed use would not be more objectionable to neighboring properties because of traffic congestion, noise, fumes, vibrations, or any other characteristics that any use permitted in the zoning district without the grant of special exception. And 4, that available community facilities and services, including the road system, providing access to the proposed use are adequate for the proposed use.
Are there any questions for staff?
Mayor, I just want to mention, this may have been rolled out at the last meeting, but I really love this snapshot of the public hearing right now, like what this includes and what it shows just on that slide. This is really great to just get a quick look at each one of the hearings, so thanks for that.
Nice format.
All right, we will open a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? If not, we'll close the public hearing. I'll ask for a motion.
Move for approval?
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Bearfield,
Yes.
Rodriguez. Aye. Holmes.
Aye.
Porterud,
Yes.
Ewing,
Yes.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. We'll move to public hearing 2023-1040.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Encore Electric Delivery Company, LLC, for an electrical substation in R1B zoning on property described as an 8.0545 acre tract of land situated in the Thomas de la Vega Survey, abstract number 43 in section 4, William N. Dillard Survey, abstract number 11, McLennan County, Texas, and being a portion of a called 90.810 acre tract of land described in a deed to DRR Rails LLC is recorded in instrument number 2015-03, 2036 of the official public records of McLennan County, Texas, known as a portion of the property address as 3205 J.J. Fluellen. By a vote of 7-3, the Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the following findings. That the proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan and purposes and intent of Chapter 28 zoning of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Waco. That the proposed use is compatible with the appropriate and orderly development of the area which is located. That the proposed use will not be more objectionable to neighboring properties because of traffic congestion, noise, fumes, vibrations, or any other characteristics than any use permitted in the zoning district without the grant of the special exception. And that available community facilities and services, including the road system, providing access to the proposed use are adequate for the proposed use. I do want to highlight two of the conditions that were recommended for approval by the staff and Plan Commission. One is dealing with a screening wall. There is a condition that the proposed screening wall along the perimeter of the substation facility is shown on the site plan for Encore Circle Point Substation, and conceptual rendering shall be at least 8 feet in height in masonry construction. Also, it shall be installed to extend around the whole property. And we did receive an updated plan from the applicant shown on your screen. The screening wall is shown in that dark color around both areas of the substation to meet that requirement. And then there's a picture of an example of the type of screening wall that they'll put in. And then the second condition is that an all-season landscape screen 4 feet in height with densely planted with a combination of deciduous and evergreen trees and shrubs with initial height of 3 feet will be, and attain a height of 6 feet within 36 months after installation shall be installed along the perimeter of the screening wall. These changes are intended to provide better screening of the facility. They have provided, to meet this requirement, they've provided 39 trees that are shown up there, and then 635 shrubs that extend all the way around the perimeter of that. They've also provided 2.91 acres of the 8.045 acres in ground cover, which is about 39% of the site, which exceeds our ordinance requirement of 25%, so 14% in addition to that. That's it.
Any questions for staff? We will open a public hearing for comments, and I do have one card, and that is Dr. Bess Dunner.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Bess Carpenter Dunner, and I live at 3121 J.J. Fluellen Road. And I've lived there for over 20 years. We've been very happy in our home, but here in the last couple of months, we've been faced with a electric substation being placed across the street from our 8,000 square foot home. I received a map in the mail that was deceptive and misleading. It showed that the substation would be near the MLK Drive. And because of that, none of the neighbors in the Hollywood Edition or anyone else that I talked to was gonna oppose that because they didn't think it was gonna be close to their house. There are 3 houses down where I live, but I'm not a voice for them. I can only be a voice for myself. And I am opposed because it will take away from the value of my house. It would be noise. It would be continuous traffic. And I think that with 10 votes from the Carver Association, it should be looked at closely because none of those people live there. They live on the other end, not on the end where I live. I know that this is gonna happen, and I know that I can't stop it. I'm not trying to stop progress, but I do feel like it needs to be put somewhere else. I did call a representative from Encore, Mr. Baldwin, and he stated to me that if I did not want the substation there, then I should have bought all of the land around me. As I previously stated, I did not misunderstand his comment. I have a strong command of the English language along with 4 others. So I understood completely what I was being told, and that was that our park-like quiet neighborhood would vanish and the noise would increase along with the traffic as well. The problem that I have with this is that the map that was sent to me was deceptive and misleading, and I think that Waco should be ashamed of themselves for trying to mislead the citizens of Waco. I know that this is going to happen, and I resign myself to the fact that it will, but would you want it in your front door? I don't think you would. And nobody asked us how we felt about it before the decision had been made to put it there. And I know that the decision has been made because I've watched the work along the road. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? We'll close the public hearing and I'll ask for a motion.
Sir.
Oh. Yep. We'll reopen the public hearing.
I apologize.
But
Mayor, Council, my name is Michael Baldwin. I'm the South Region Manager for Encore office here in Waco. With me tonight are Travis Yanker. He's a project manager with Half & Associates from Richardson, Texas. Also Seth Sampson. He's our Encore right-of-way siting specialist out of our Fort Worth office. I'll open it to Seth.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Seth Sampson. I'm siting specialist for Encore. And I'm, like Michael said, really just here to answer any questions that you might have for us. The reason for the need for this station is really twofold. It's one, to address the load and the growth in this area of Waco specifically. And 2, right now we have 2 stations, one Waco North, and the other is called, internally we call it Belmead. It's not in Belmead, but it's up near I-35. And essentially what our load planning team has told us is that within 2024, peak load season in the summer, we need to essentially be able to backstand those 2 stations. So if you draw a line from Waco North to Belmead, essentially on that line, that is where you get this location, is right in the middle. So that's the reason for this location. And again, I'm just here to answer any questions and be helpful in any way I can.
any questions?
Yes, please, Mayor. Thank you for coming. So I'm glad you mentioned the planning, because that's one of the things that I wanted to get a little bit more information on. How far out do you all plan as growth sites, potential new sites for substation?
All right, we'd go as far out as we can accurately. We have studies and we have plans, growth plans for, at least 5 years out. I'm sure there's further.
Mm-hmm.
But this one in particular was focused on summer and peak of next year.
Okay.
So we have near term, we have as far out as we can look. It's just kind of how it comes up through our planning.
Okay, the other piece, hold on. When, one of the things that I think is a kind of a concern for us all is the number, we looked at the numbers of substations by district, and I can't control what happened in the past because what's in the ground is in the ground. However, moving forward, what I wanted to do is look at doing more, and I don't know if it's our role or not, to determine how we strategically place and grow in the future. Because what I don't want to see is an exorbitant number of substations in already marginalized communities just continuing to proliferate environmental injustice to put things that we all have to have, but in neighborhoods that don't necessarily have or have not had champions to do anything about. Okay? I mean, now, I guess the major crisis for me when this first came up is that we have the really large substation on MLK and I-35, and I didn't see how it made any sense to have another substation a mile down the street on the same street. That was troubling to me. And I know that was the original site. I don't know what happened after that, except for when you came to present to Carver Neighborhood Association, which I was there. And I did attend that meeting, and I believe it was a young man from Hafen Association Associates who was explaining what this substation would do to take the burden off of the others. I do hope that, and maybe you can answer this from an Encore perspective, that, for instance, you mentioned the summer heat, but as we experienced the 2 freezes in 21, 22, is that right? That, there was a great number of 76704 that was out of power for 48 hours, somewhere between 24 and 48 hours. And, that is more of a concern to me than anything, because there's a lot of older folks in our community, and what we want to do is make sure that burden is eased. Is that what you're saying this will do?
So, you reference Winter Storm Uri. That was a generation issue. Substations, they don't generate any electricity. They're used for distribution. So, as far as would the generation issue be resolved, that's not something a substation is going to do. But in the case that an event like that does happen, what the substations do, they do give us more options in regards to being able to go out and flip switches or try to get things back online. They do give us additional options. So from a reliability standpoint, yeah, that does help increase reliability. And in other storms, tornado, something like that comes through, the location of this substation is essentially cutting in half the amount of transmission line, that if something were to, God forbid, come through and knock out power along that area, it's essentially reducing the amount of exposure that we have. So if something were to happen and be down towards MLK, Waco North or Belle Meade, this would allow for us to have more options and just less exposure on that line. So from a reliability standpoint, yes, but from a generation standpoint, it's not going to change additional generation.
And is there any way to consider, as Waco grows and expands, even from a regional perspective, if that means that we need to coordinate with cities, but certainly ours, is there a way that, we can be walking with you I know you all have to put stuff where you have power, is what I was told. You build substations where there's transmission lines. But I think that we need my job would be to protect the residents of District 1 for this particular issue. And our council's is to ensure that we do this in a manner that is with our community and not to it. Because I know for a fact that substations, this is the aesthetic portion of this is good. And I'm gonna say, it's the least we can do because we're in a neighborhood and you don't want to make even if it's a necessity, an eyesore. I have done a whole lot of deep digging into substations. I've seen buildings created around substations. I've seen really intricate artwork done around substations. So there are ways to make this not as obtrusive. And I hope that you all will continue to lean into that because, again, we are a growing community and we will be growing. But we need to make sure that we are doing this in a manner that is in partnership and communication and in sync with our residents, because we all have to have power and we all understand that these burdens, but I just don't want communities that are already burdened to be the only ones to carry it. And so, as we grow and we plan strategically, making sure that all of our communities are carrying the same burden. That's my concern.
Okay, so, was there, I guess there wasn't as much of a question, I get your statement.
Oh, I didn't have a question, I had a statement.
Sure, and, if it'd help after the fact, we can provide you with a list of the last 3 years, kind of the stations that we have brought to this area. It might be more than a lot of people are aware of.
Oh, no, yeah.
So, and again, it's,
Because I think in the list that I had, we had, 6 in District 1 and about 4 or 5 in 2. I mean, it was a lot.
Okay.
It was a lot. And I get it. I just want, again, as we're looking, I did notice that the responsibility of carrying substations was not equal.
You want me to respond to that? So yeah, I can, yeah, so I can let Michael speak towards kind of the communication and whatnot, you mentioned walking forward together with the community, but when we're going into planning these stations, there isn't a socioeconomic indicator or anything like that we're looking at when we're deciding where these need to go. It's strictly load-based, and again, kind of how I explained earlier, where these 2 stations happen to be located, that drives where this new station would be located. There isn't a socioeconomic indicator or anything like that goes into consideration from our standpoint.
Now or ever?
I'd say.
I did have a couple of questions. I think one thing that this council would benefit from is having a presentation of some sort to understand kind of Encore's strategic plan for Waco, to understand where substations will likely be located in the future and why, to understand the power needs and the power grid in Waco, so we have a better understanding of why exactly a substation has to go where and why. And I think that's something that as Waco grows, this is an important utility that we need to have an understanding of, because I don't think this is going to be the last time that this matter comes before future councils. And I think also we can have a discussion on how to screen and what are some creative screening opportunities that Encore can do, and that at other times the city and Encore work together to accomplish. And because I do think this council, it is a moment in Waco where we really want to have a beautiful city, and that's our goal up here, is to understand better and work to ensure that this city is kept beautiful. We know we need power, and we know that we need electricity, but that's something that I think we would benefit from for future conversations. So is that something that you'd be willing, so I do have a question, is that something that you'd be willing to present with us and talk to us about?
Yes.
Great.
Mayor, if I might suggest, we do have a upcoming work session that Michael Baldwin's going to be presenting at in January, we could add that to the work session
I
as a
think that'd
future
be-
agenda item.
Yeah, I think that'd be a future agenda item would be really beneficial to have, that discussion so that we might know more.
And if I may jump in here. Why, when you come back with your presentation, why was District 1 and 2, why do we have the most substations? What is it about these two districts that you find very valuable to put those substations in? I need to know that.
The transmission grid, when the transmission lines go through Waco, so our substations are located typically directly underneath the transmission lines. So you could have a district that doesn't have as many transmission lines going through the district, but those are lines that have been here for decades. So as Waco has grown, we have to place them strategically where the load growth is. So this area also is seen for load growth, but you can't just put one at any location. It has to be, well, such as Mary Avenue. Mary Avenue that's going in, they're just behind Franklin Avenue and 26th Street. It's right directly underneath the transmission line. So they're strategically placed where transmission lines are. Otherwise, you would have to extend transmission towers through the city to get to the new substation location, which the city probably wouldn't prefer that as compared to just being directly underneath the transmission line.
And I think, Michael, I appreciate that. I think this will be a great conversation
Sure.
for that future meeting, because I think, like, getting that granular with us on how that works and what alternatives are,
That's what I need to know, and
is
that's
gonna
what
be-
Because, I
need to
mean,
tell our constituents.
that's the thing, I was like, that's something that we have to explain.
Right.
I mean, you will never have to explain that to anyone, and the fortunates or for you is that calling Encore to ask that question is not gonna be, it won't be answered in that way. But, at the grocery store, that's gonna be where we're asked those questions. And so we're gonna have to have a better understanding of the hows and whys, and especially in the growth patterns of our city, because as you watch where the transmission lines were historically, I mean, that's not where the growth of our city is. So maybe even an answer, so what does that mean now, right? Because the areas that are now hubs of homes and businesses were fields historically. So they get power, so how does that work? And so those are things that I would be looking forward to in that next session.
Sure, we'll be happy to do that.
Thank you guys. Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? If not, we'll close the public hearing, and I will ask for a motion.
I'll move for approval with the special provisions and conditions for an electrical substation as presented.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? I'll just say that I really do look forward to that presentation. I think it's going to benefit our community. Please pull the council. Yes, ma'am.
Could I, Jennifer, could we put off voting on this particular item until after we get their presentation? Or is there a rush or something in the need for that substation? 'Cause, I mean, that's gonna weigh on me, on how I vote, what they tell me.
What?
Because of what the resident said she didn't want in front of her house.
Would I need to reopen the public hearing to have Mr. Baldwin speaking to that?
So we have a motion and a second,
We're in discussion. Yeah.
and we're in discussion. Yeah, I think we probably need to withdraw the motion and then second with the withdrawal and then reopen the public hearing.
All right, is there a motion to withdraw?
I will withdraw my motion.
I'll second the withdrawal.
And then we need to vote on the withdrawal?
Not if it's withdrawn.
Yes.
Okay, please pull the council.
Fairfield. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Holmes. Porterrood. Ewing.
Yes.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. Mr. Baldwin, you have a question?
And if you'll reopen the public hearing.
All right, reopen the public hearing.
So I can speak towards the construction timeline. So for us, like I mentioned, the 2024 summer is our concern right now, which you know, I know we're in winter now, but it takes us essentially 3 months to build these stations. So for us, you know, we're still working through, outside of the entitlement work for this, we'll still have to go through, you know, civil review and other development review, which takes a couple months, understandably. So for us, that's pretty difficult for us to do and still make that 2024 schedule. So that's kind of what we're looking at, right now we have a spring construction date is our goal.
I understand your problem, but I also understand the residents' problem. And we have to face our residents all the time. I wish we'd had this discussion before we had this vote. Because in my mind, it would settle a lot of things in my mind, and my questions and your answers as to how we can address this to make our resident feel better. Because she's not the only one that's come to us, but she's the only one that's come up here. But we still have to answer. Michael, I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about. I don't have anything against progress, but I have a problem with putting something in front of a resident's house that she feels like she shouldn't have. Even though, whether it's safe or she may feel like it's not safe, I don't know. But those questions and your answers will weigh on my vote.
I can address
And
that.
you don't have those answers, I don't think, right
No,
now.
I can address that. Actually, we own property along MLK, and at the city's request, we actually moved the substation site. We actually had to work and negotiate with the property owner to trade property, because at the original site, if you were at Cameron Park, you could look down into the substation.
But on
So
MLK.
this location was actually directed from the city to go to this site, so I need to make that.
Can you speak to your timeline, the timeline issues, if Councilman Rodriguez just was curious about pushing it until the January, the first meeting in January, speak to.
The 16th.
Okay,
Yeah.
January 16th.
January 16th, so under 30 days.
What's the concern with pushing it to that?
So are you saying a vote for this entitlement,
Yeah.
January? Because I guess when, it's a couple of weeks, I guess. We'll take as many weeks as we can, as far as, we're always crunched when it comes to construction schedules. And I understand it just seems like a few weeks, but then you get into storm season and we can't predict that as far as construction on the station. So for us, really just that critical date is being ready for the summer of '24. That's most critical for us right now. And to your point, I think we actually started this process in 2022. Is when we first reached out for a pre-development meeting, when we had the other location that we already owned. And when we had the conversation with the city and got feedback from you guys that you did not want that location. It took us a significant amount of time to work out a land swap with the property owner that we were able to eventually purchase this property with. So I don't want it to appear that we're just trying to spring this on you guys. It's been a long process from moving from our initial site, which we owned, and working out a new site with the landowner. So we kind of lost a year almost on that regard.
Really, I don't know.
No.
I think that, have you all started work on that property already?
Work on this existing site? Outside of surveying, we wouldn't have any work other than maybe some surveying and staking maybe. But no, there wouldn't be any grading work or anything like that going on out there.
We've agreed that future presentation about strategic planning will be included in the presentation that you're giving on the 16th?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean,
I guess I hear that, the lines are where they are due to whatever historical forces, were there. There are legitimate grid concerns, and if this would help with power in maybe another record-setting heat wave of summer 2024, who knows? I appreciate that Encore moved this property based on the city's request, and I also appreciate that they're willing to listen to us about being more strategic so that these substations don't continue to populate essentially council districts with predominantly people of color, that you're receptive to rethinking maybe some of your strategy so that it's not just constantly going into, I know you don't think in terms of Waco City Council districts at all, but I think that's where we give some of the input is just kind of demonstrating to y'all in your decision-making what that looks like for our community. And so I do appreciate that you're willing to present on that strategic plan. I don't think any of us want to jeopardize the summer 2024 grid capacity or electric transmission. I'm willing to vote to put this through now, but with the understanding that we're kind of partnering with thinking about this from a historical perspective and from a strategic perspective and kind of opening that conversation in January. I don't know if that'd be acceptable to my colleagues from Districts 1 and 2 or not.
Yeah.
Mayor, can I take just 5 minutes of a break? I need to look at the notice before y'all move forward.
Okay.
Want to make sure that we are solid on our end as staff.
Okay.
So can we take a 5-minute break while I confer
We'll take a
with
5-minute
Glenn?
break. Yep. Reconvene the meeting. Michelle, will you remind me, we had closed a public hearing, or we were in a public hearing?
You're in the public hearing.
Okay. Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? If not, I'll close the public hearing and I'll ask for a motion.
I'll move for approval with the special provisions and conditions for an electric substation as presented.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Please, public counsel.
Bearfield. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye.
Borderoot.
Yes.
Ewing. Yes. Meek.
And I'll just finish by saying I appreciate Encore for being a partner, but definitely think that this community and this council will benefit from further discussion on some of the questions that were raised today, and we look forward to engaging in that communication. Thank you. The next public hearing is Public Hearing 2023-1041.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Keaton Auto Group for a full-service automobile dealership in C2 zoning district on property described as 9.255 acre tract of land situated in the TJ Chambers Survey Abstract Number 7, City of Waco, McLennan County, Texas. And being all of tracts A, B, and C described in a corrective specialty warranty deed to DSWNs LLC, Missouri Limited Liability Company, as recorded in McLennan County Clerk's File Number 2010 008408 of the official public records in McLennan County, Texas. Tract C further described as Lot 1, Block 1 of the Graves Addition, according to the final plat thereof, as recorded in Volume 919, page 619 of the deed records in McLennan County, Texas, together with a portion of Lot 1, Block 1 of the Equipment Depot Addition, according to the final plat thereof, as recorded in Volume 127, page 821 of the deed records in McLennan County, Texas. Same being Tract A, known as 4300 South Jack Colgan Expressway. By a vote of 9-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the following findings. That the proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the purpose and intent of Chapter 28 zoning of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco. That the proposed use is compatible with the appropriate and orderly development of the area which is located, and that the proposed use would not be more objectionable to neighboring properties because of traffic congestion, noise, fumes, vibrations, or any other characteristics to any use permitted in the zoning district without the granted special exception, and that available community facilities and services, including the road system providing access to the proposed use, are adequate for the proposed use.
Are there any questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing for comment. Is there anyone here to speak on this item?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. My name is Jack Windus, address 5802 North Navarro Street, Suite 100, Victoria, Texas 77904. Along with me is Christopher Wall, General Counsel for Keating Auto Group. I'm going to lend the table to him to kind of just go over who we are as a company at Keating Auto Group, and then I will be here to answer any questions with regards to the plans.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Appreciate the opportunity to be here and for your consideration of our request for a special permit for the construction of a full-service automobile dealership. Keating Auto Group, we're a group of privately owned franchise dealerships here in Texas. We're corporate headquarters is in Victoria, Texas. We acquired the Hyundai store here in Waco in October. Prior to that, we were not in this market, so we're excited to be here. We did not purchase the real estate with the plan and hope that we would relocate to a new facility, bigger new facility, which is the property here that we're discussing. So we appreciate the opportunity, appreciate your consideration of our request, and if there's anything we can answer for you, we're looking forward to being a part of Waco and building a great-looking facility. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here or any questions?
Victoria, take over.
My old stomping grounds. About Century Lane's bowling alley. Any questions? Thank you, guys. Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? If not, we'll close the public hearing and I'll ask for a motion.
Move for approval?
Second, any discussion? Please poll the council.
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Aye.
Holmes?
Aye.
Porter?
Yes.
Ewing?
Yes.
Meek?
So that motion carries, and we will move to public hearing 2023-1043.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the city of Waco, Texas, providing that the comprehensive plan be amended to change the land use designation from office industrial flex to medium density residential office flex on property described as being an 18.78 acre tract of land out of the WL Swain survey, abstract number 40, McLennan County, Texas, being the remainder of a called 51.764 acre tract described in the deed to the Young Brothers Holding LLC, recorded under instrument number 2003-02-8208 for the official public records in McLennan County, Texas, providing that the code of ordinance be amended by revising section 28-247 in chapter 28 zoning of the code, providing that zoning map shall be changed so that certain property described above shall be changed from R1B to R3B district classification, providing for penalties, providing a saving clause, providing a severability clause, and defining the term at the meeting in which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 10-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the land use change based on the following finding: that the public infrastructure is adequate to provide for zoning districts allowed in the proposed land use designation, and then propose approval for zoning based on the following findings: that the proposed zoning is in conformance with the land use component of the comprehensive plan as revised, and that the property meets all area and width requirements for R3B zoning, and the existing public infrastructure is adequate to provide for uses allowed in R3B zoning, and the proposed R3B zoning is compatible with the surrounding area, including existing land use and road classifications.
Any questions for staff? We'll open up a public hearing, and I do have one card, and that is Brad Davis. Any questions? All right. We will close the public hearing, and I will ask for a motion.
I'll move for approval on first reading.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Bearfield? Rodriguez? Holmes? Porter?
Yes.
Ewing?
Yes.
Meek?
Yes, that motion carries, and we will move to the consent agenda. Consent agenda. The following resolution was pulled from the consent agenda, and that's Resolution 2023-1046.
Mayor, we may have one more here.
We have one more public hearing.
Oh, man, I'm so sorry.
1043.
We all got places to be, but we should, stick to the agenda.
Yes. Public hearing 1043.
Council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the city of Waco, Texas, providing that the code of ordinances be amended by revising section 28-247 in chapter 28 zoning of said code, providing that the zoning map shall be changed to certain property described as lot 74, block 1 in the Western Ridge Estates Edition, known as 9107 Chapel Road, shall be changed from O1 district classification and be designated in the O3 district classification, providing for penalties, providing a savings clause, providing a severability clause, and finally determining the meeting at which the ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 10-0, the Plan Commission recommended approval of zoning based on the following findings. One, the proposed zoning is conformance with the land use component of the comprehensive plan. Two, the public infrastructure is adequate to provide for uses allowed in O3 zoning. Three, the property meets all the area and width requirements for O3 zoning. And four, the proposed O3 zoning district provides for a compatible mixed-use development with the adjacent residential neighborhood by limiting the types of commercial uses permitted in the hours of operation. And I believe Mr. Davis wanted to speak on this case.
Yeah, I caught that. Are there any questions for staff? If not, I'll open the public hearing, and I have one card for this one, and that's Brad Davis. Sorry about that. Got ahead of myself.
Thought that was going pretty smooth. So,
Where'd you get that impression?
I'm Brad Davis, 3041 Rock Bridge Road. I'm here representing Mrs. Dong and Mr. Liu in this request. He'll be happy to answer anybody's questions.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Brad.
Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? If not, I'll close the public hearing. I'll ask for a motion.
Mayor, I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Bearfield? Rodriguez? Holmes?
Aye.
Porter?
Yes.
Ewing?
Yes.
Meek?
Yes, that motion carries. And now we'll move to resolution 2023-1046. Is there a motion?
Move for approval?
Second. Motion and second. Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Bearfield?
Yes.
Rodriguez? Holmes? Ewing?
Yes.
Meek?
Yes, that motion carries. And the next item is the consent agenda, which includes resolutions 2023-1044 through 2023-1067, with the exception of 1046. Is there a motion?
Move. Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Rodriguez? Holmes? Porter?
Yes.
Ewing?
Yes.
Meek?
Yes, that motion carries. And next we have one ordinance, which is ordinance 2023-1068.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 2023-625 to provide for a new effective date, providing a severability clause, providing a savings clause, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for an effective date, and finally determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 5-0 council vote on first reading on December 5th, 2023.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval on second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Fairfield?
Aye.
Yes.
Ewing?
Yes.
Meek?
Yes. That motion carries. Next, we have the hearing of visitors. During the hearing of visitors, we provide an opportunity for the public to present concerns or address issues that are not listed on the agenda. We cannot conduct discussion, but we will listen and ask staff to follow up. Please provide registration information so that staff can contact you, and if you have handouts, let us know. Is there anyone who would like to speak during the hearing of visitors? If not, I'll close the hearing of visitors, and I'll ask if there's any announcements council would like to make.
Is this the time when the staff treat award ceremony will be presented?
Yes, can you give me a drum roll? First place for store-bought is Legal Street Team Cafes,
Street dog.
Street Dog Cafes cake.
All right.
First place for homemade is the Snickerdoodle.
Recount.
Cookies. Was that
City Secretary's office.
Mayor, best presentation?
Best presentation goes to library.
Library was strong.
And honorable mention goes to Puffs, which was HR.
We called them puffs.
Corn.
It was like
no,
a
we
sweet days
did.
puff, sweet and
Dessert.
salty thing. Yeah.
And then the other honorable mention, because I'm afraid because of the faces that I'm getting, is from City Management Office.
They're walking out, Mayor, they're walking out on us.
Those cookies, those Christmas tree cookies
Those
were
trees
so
were amazing.
delicious.
So delicious. Not as
Man,
delicious as
we
others, but so
really
delicious.
loved those hardy
Presentation
landscaping trees.
alone.
Very great presentation by Ashley Nystrom and the CMO team. Okay. Any other announcements?
Mayor, I do have one really quick one because I missed it at our last meeting, but I wanted to give a quick shout out to the Dean Highland Neighborhood Association, my home association, if you will. They put on their first Dean Highland Neighborhood holiday party December 2nd of this year. They shut down 28th Street, right in front of the Alice House, if you're familiar. Looks like the Griswold's place, lights it all up. And they had Kids Touring, we had a Santa there, they had some hot chocolate vendors, Heritage Creamery was out there, so it was a great time for everyone. They had a really good turnout for that, so I wanted to give a quick shout out to them.
I'll piggyback on that, Mayor. Austin Ave had a similar event, although probably not as large as the scale. That Dean Highland really knocked it out the park, but we had a nice little Cookies with Santa at Karam Park. I want to give a shout out to Meg Salome, Kay Paul Holt, and others from the association that put that on. It was a really nice event.
So this Saturday, barring rain, some of the community will present the Bridge Street Plaza's 2023 Soulful Holiday Celebration. So it's at Bridge Street from 1 to 7 o'clock. And there'll be vendors and food and songs and arts and crafts. So it's an opportunity to celebrate the holidays at Bridge Street Plaza.
Awesome. It's great. It's a great time of year. A lot of fun activities going on throughout the community. Thanks to our city staff for all that they do for that. Again, Michelle and CSO team, amazing job on the holiday decorations here tonight.
Yeah.
Really made it feel festive. And with that, there being no further business, this meeting will be adjourned at 7:04 p.m. Thanks, everybody.